Well, hello everybody. I'm going to play this in a second. Do you know what that's called? That's a harmonica. Sometimes people call it the mouth harp too. And this is a very, very special instrument. You know, when this instrument first started, it was never intended to sound the way that I'm going to play it today. But it was the genius of a culture that changed the way that this instrument sounded. When this instrument first started, this is what they had in mind. Or maybe something like this. A couple of places that it was really popular was in the fields. And something really, really important happened to the harmonica in the fields in the South. Slaves got hold of harmonicas, and they had a different sound in their ear than from the country where they came from, and then different than the country where they lived. So first they learned how to play it, but then they wanted to make it sound like home. And so they took the instrument and they started playing it completely differently, almost completely backwards, because most of the time when you play the harmonica, you play it blowing out. But they wanted to make the sound blowing in. And they discovered all these new sounds like this. And then they discovered that they could actually do something called bending a note. If you listen to this, you'll hear a note start high and go low. The instrument wasn't intended to sound like that, but that's how it sounds the best. And that was the beginning of American jazz. I'll tell you, it's the first time in my life that anybody's called me a genius, and I think the first time that I got that recently, I felt a little uncomfortable about it. And I had to go look it up in the dictionary because I had this idea of a genius in my head that didn't match anything that I knew about me. And I thought for a while, and I thought, well, gee, can a genius stub his toe? Can a genius make mistakes? And I thought, well, yes, a genius can make mistakes. Does a genius have to be perfect? And I answered my own question. I said, no, genius doesn't have to be perfect. But one of the things that I liked in that definition is it said that a genius was a person who is very original and who has a strong mind and who also has insight, who can look into things and take a look at them. I started when I was very, very young, and I was really forced to. You know, when I was a kid, I had a pretty severe stutter, and I had a lisp. It was very hard for me to talk. When I was a kid, I kind of sounded like this, so I couldn't get out a full sentence, and I also had these really hard S's. So I kind of talked like this: seashells by the seashore. And early on, they hooked me up with a speech therapist, and I learned how to talk, but not only did I learn how to talk, I learned how to talk really well. And it was so hard for me to get out a sentence when I was a kid that once I learned how to talk, I never stopped. And I haven't stopped since. But one of the things that came out of that talking was singing. Somehow I found out that I was able to sing as well. And the first thing that I did was I just joined the local choir. So when I was a kid, the first kind of singing I did was as a choir boy, and you know, that kind of real high stuff, which I can still do. It kind of sounded like, "'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the best gift of all, like a quiet rain, it blesses where it falls." But then, one day, I was in downtown Seattle, and I heard this amazing music. It was very soulful, and it was 4-part harmony, and some of it was kind of funky, and some of it was gospel. And there were these guys who had come up from the South. They were from Alabama, and they called themselves the Gospel Comets. And they made their living singing on the street and passing the hat. But at that time, they were making a very good living. And I would catch the bus down, and I would watch them and listen to them. And I was just some kid, they didn't know me. And I just hung around for a long time. And one time I asked them if I could sing with them, and they were very polite, but they kind of shooed me off. So I saved up some of my allowance money, and I took a $20 bill and I put it in the hat. And I said, "Can I sing with you?" And they said, "Well, all right." You know, they can't turn down a 20. They're used to getting $1 bills. And so I sang that, you know, "Amazing grace, how sweet the sound." Well, they were pretty surprised. I just didn't look like a kid who could sing. I certainly didn't look like a kid who could sing like that. So they took me under their wing. Now, that was one way I learned. The other, at the same time, I was going to regular school, and I had a wonderful English teacher, and her name was Miss Chapin. And she thought I was a pretty talented kid, and she said, "Here, I want you to read this in class." And she gave me Romeo and Juliet, and she gave me Hamlet by Shakespeare. So here I was singing blues and gospel on the street, and then I was doing Shakespeare in class. And so I really just fell in love with the sound of words. So I learned Shakespeare, and then someone saw they needed a kid in a play, and the kid was, he needed to sing, and I got a gig in a professional play when I was 16. And that was kind of the beginning of my career. But all the way along, I kept going to school. I went to theater school, and I was afraid maybe I wouldn't make a living as an actor. So I got another degree after that. I got an English degree, and I got another degree after that, and I learned how to be a physical therapist. But I ended up making a living in show business. So all these things that I do are really one thing for me, and that is, it's about me expressing myself. And I didn't want anything to limit how it is that I express who I am. I would say that the central part of what I really am and what makes me passionate is that I really like to learn. So I would say that the thing that drives my passion is curiosity. And for whatever reason, my curiosity has never stopped. And I think that that is the secret to life. I think you always have to learn every chance you get. I would say one of my biggest advocates has been my mom. She gets a real kick out of seeing her son perform and have a good time. So she was one of my big advocates. And I will always remember my English teacher, because she really, really encouraged me. And you know, I've got some courage now, but actually I was kind of a scaredy cat when I was a kid. And I needed a lot of encouragement, and I got that. But I've been very fortunate that I've had some good teachers. And I have to tell you, sometimes a good teacher will find you, but sometimes you have to go out and find a good teacher. And if there's something you really, really want to know, you've got to put the time in to find out what it is. And all of a sudden, you get all these ideas. So it doesn't matter what it is you're interested in. It's really, really important that you take the time to go after it and to look at it and to read about it. You know, when you're a kid, all your friends, they always kind of want you, you know, when you're at school, they tell you, be like this. This is what's cool to wear. This is what's cool to act. This is how I should act. These are the words I should say. This is the music I should listen to. If you do that, then you're going to be just like everybody else. If you are the person that you were made to be, then you're on your way to genius. Because a good part of genius is putting in hours and hours and hours of investigating who it is that you are and what you like to do, and how you do it and how you get it done. And you can't stop until you figure all that stuff out. And as soon as you figure all that stuff out, then you got to find something new to learn. That's living. I really think that there is such a thing as talent in the sense that there are certain things that for whatever reason we might be better at than other things. But that's not enough. To have a talent doesn't necessarily get you to the other side of being really good at something. You have to actually have passion. You have to really be excited about what it is you're doing. And it's really important. That's why if there's something you're interested in, you just gotta do it, because that's the thing that's gonna make you happy. But the other thing after talent and after passion just has to do with time. The more familiar you are with something, the more comfortable you are with something, you never really want to take the time to just settle with what you got. I think this was my problem initially with the word genius, because I thought, oh my God, if I'm a genius, does that mean that I'm finished? That I've done all the work I need to do? And I just decided, no, that's just definitely not me. I think that being a genius has to do with always doing things and always learning more. I'm good at a lot of things, but if I wasn't always learning, if I was playing for other people, it wouldn't be exciting for them, because they would think I was doing something I've already done. People get excited because they hear me sing or play, and they feel like they're hearing something new that maybe never happened before. And that's because I'm always willing to take the risk to fail. I'm always willing to take the risk to learn in front of other people. In order to succeed, you have to make mistakes, and you have to drop things, and then you pick them up and you start all over again. That's how you learn. You can't learn by being perfect all the time. You have to learn by challenging yourself and finding out what your limits are, and then challenging that. Being a genius, it's not just about putting in 10,000 hours. It's what you put into that 10,000 hours. If you put your heart into every hour of those 10,000 hours, and then you sing for 5 minutes, 10,000 hours of heart goes into 5 minutes. 10,000 hours of heart goes into 30 seconds. And that's the power of putting in your time. One of the ways that I learned, and I think one of the unique ways that I learned, was that when people inspired me, I completely tried to copy them. I think it's really, really important. If you've got heroes or people who inspire you, I think it's really, really important that you study them, and even that you imitate them. I think it's very, very important. If you like someone who's good with words, if you like someone who's good at acting, at dancing, if you like someone who is brilliant at physics, you have to read what they wrote. You have to look at them. Look them up on YouTube and see how they act and what they do with their face and what they do with their body. And then you try it. And it changes you. It changes how you see the world. My advice for new learners is that you never stop being a new learner. I'm a new learner right now. I'm learning right now. And I'm never gonna stop. Every day of my life, I want to learn something new, and I want to practice the stuff that I'm good at. I think that part of being a genius is the amount of time you put in, the 10,000 hours. But if you stopped practicing after you did those 10,000 hours, you'd stop being a genius. I think you're a genius every time you pick up a book, every time you try something new, and every time you stop and really practice something that you want to get good at. So I would say that whenever you're practicing and whenever you're learning, that's when you're a genius.